Hi, Zarek Lee. For this Founders Interview series, I'm being interviewed myself by One Man Biz Podcast with Rod Pancine. We discuss the science of fear, and I give tips on how to overcome fear, especially for entrepreneurs and business owners.
All right. So welcome, Eric, to this podcast. I'm super glad that you accept this offer. It's super amazing to have you. You're an awesome person. And yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity.
No problem. Thanks for having me on, Rod.
Awesome. Well, this show is about solopreneurship and the fears that came up on this journey. We can attach and track down the source of many problems, let's say, or lack of things, or like analysis paralysis, all those things that entrepreneurs go through, and we can track back to fear. And to start, I would like to ask you, um, well, you are pretty well succeed now, so I would like to just talk a little bit about your achievements, so where you are at right now.
Sure. Yeah, I guess I've been very blessed to have always known what I love to do. So ever since I was like grade 10, I knew I wanted to be a designer. I was in drafting class till 10 at night, just doing what I love. And my friends would be asking me like, why are you staying at 10 at night in class? I'm like, because I love it. So for me, it didn't matter. I was very much on purpose, on passion. So I'm very blessed with that. And since then, every company that I've created along the way have been to support me and what I believe in this world. So with that, I'm a big believer of that. That's why I became a business coach. I want to help people align with their purpose, because I find that if you are in alignment with your purpose, then there's no better place. That's when you're really happy and you're in the groove, and that's when you create the best work. And with the best work, that's when success comes, right? So yeah, for me now, I'm at a place where I have 3 companies that I manage, traditional companies. They're all things I love to do, and I have 2 non-traditional companies. So I have 5 in all, and I'm managing that. One of them is my business coaching business.
This is amazing. It's a great purpose for your life, and this is really. I guess it would help tons of people around the world, and but let's rewind a little bit. So before you had this clarity, to understand your purpose, you probably there was a day, a place that you were like wondering if you could do things differently, if you could just like, let's say, a place that you were not 100%. So if you could tell me a pivot moment, and how do you feel at that moment that can help, like, entrepreneurs to relate to you, and maybe what the tricks that you use or the mindset that you use can actually inspire other people to achieve what you were doing. Can you share that moment? Do you remember that moment?
Yeah, I don't know if I can remember an exact moment, but I totally get what you're talking about, because I help a lot of my clients with that, right? There's that moment of trepidation, that moment of fear, the big decision. Should I do it? Should I not do it? I totally get that. I think for me, the way I like to do things is I'm very much action oriented, and I believe in taking action. What I found is that once you take action, that action leads to something else, and it leads us to something else. So with that, I actually get clarity on the way. So I'm definitely not one that's analysis paralysis. I don't believe in that. I believe in just making things happen. So even sometimes if I don't have the full data, I have faith that I will uncover the data that I need as I go along, and I will alter my decision as I go along. So I'll have a game plan, a high level game plan, and I know that I don't have all the information, but I know that I'll get along the way, and I'll readjust where I was thinking slightly to suit the new data that comes in. And that's one of the tips that I do help with my clients. But I do want to answer your question. So one of the bigger decisions I think for me during my business is to take on staff or not. So and I think a lot of entrepreneurs kind of come up to that T intersection and decide, okay, should I take it on? Because on the one side, you've got risk. You know, if I take on staff, that means I got to bring in more work, and will I really get more work, and you know, all of that stuff. And then on the other side is if you don't take on staff, you're like putting in these crazy hours, and should I do it? Should I get some sanity back? So that's the big trepidation. That's the big decision point. And
Do,
it's, yeah,
do you ever have team members or colleagues or employees or staff members that actually you could see that they were facing like some fear, some uncertainty? How did you like tackle that? How did you help them to, because you're super confident, super, like you know what you want, you have your goals. How do you help people around you to
yeah.
overcome that?
For sure. That's a great question because I help all my clients with that. Every client that comes to me has an obstacle in their business I need to kind of uncover and help them solve. And usually there's a fear behind it. There's a reason why they're not moving forward because there's a fear. And you know, I'm always one that is very interested in psychology and personal development and mindset. So I've always been studying that for a long time. I've done lots of courses on that. And the interesting thing about fear, if you break it down, fear is simply a lack of data. Okay? Fear is a lack of data.
Wow.
At any one point, you are feeling something fearful, it's because you don't have the data. Once you understand fear from that perspective, it actually gets a lot easier. Because if you don't have the data, what do? My recommendation is, coach, go and get the data. Once you get the data, that fear will be removed, right? If you think about it, you are, let's say you're fear of heights or something like that, right? And, or even something like you're going to the unknown. You don't know what's on the other side. It's a dark hole. You're going through, you really don't know what's on the other side. It's all black. So you're fearful. You don't want to move. But what if you knew exactly what's in that room? What if someone turned on the light for you first before you went on, showed that it's only 4 walls, no obstacles on the path, and there's a clear light to the other end. And then they shut off the light again. Now, if you walk through that, you would be less fearful because now you have the data. You know exactly what's in front of you. So that's the interesting thing about the science of fear. It's really just missing data. So if you take the time to go and gather the data, that fear resides. Now, of course, there's some real fear, fight or flight, right? So if a tiger's coming at you, you're afraid. That's natural. But a lot of the fear that we have in modern life where there's no, saber-toothed tiger biting at us, it's made up fear in our head because we don't understand what's on the other side. So my tip always is go and find the data. Once you have the data, then you can move forward without fear.
Wow. Wow. That's good stuff. That's great, Eric. And let me ask you something. So if you have a client who's working with you, he has fear or he doesn't know he has a fear, but he keep telling you that he can do it. How do you pull out, how do you, like dig deep on their like mindset to kind of extract that and understand, or is that like a pattern? Every single entrepreneur has the same kind of like mindset. How do you tackle that? Because it sounds like it's almost like a coach. It's almost like it's a therapist.
Yeah. Well, in a way, for me, my coaching style is always to lead them to the answer. I don't like to give people the answer because my belief is I want to teach you how to fish. I don't want to give you a fish. If I give you a fish, you're going to come back to me every day. But if I teach you how to fish, you're going to build those skills for yourself. And eventually you don't need me to be around to give you that same fish. So for me, I always like to lead my clients to the answer. I may know the answer and sometimes I don't, but I lead them on a path and then we discover things together. But the answer always comes from internal. My job is to lead them. I am their guide, their coach, their guide on a hiking trail to take them to the next summit. That's what I do. So in terms of fear, a lot of times I know that there's a fear behind that and the client may not know themselves. But what I do is I don't even tell them that it's a fear. I just show them the data that's needed behind that fear, and therefore it's gone, right? So if you have a fear of, okay, I'm gonna go and, I really need help. I need to bring in staff, but I don't know if I should do it. What if I don't have the next paycheck? What if this? What if that? What if this? There's all these what ifs in their head. So simply, all that I do is get them to do a financial model, right? So if I tell them to do a financial model or help them with that, we can look at, okay, how many customers do you think you'll be getting, or how many customers have you gotten? Okay, this is now proof. Have you gone, look back in your last 12 months, how many customers have you had? And on average, how much is that? And then we model out what the next 12 months would be like. Then I do the math for them. I say, okay, look, your time is worth X amount. You bring in an assistant. Okay, you save from that perspective because they charge out less. And then that will free up so many more hours of your time. And the end result is this much more revenue. So I'm showing them that math and it subsides their fear because that math now tells them, okay, they don't have to worry because all they need to do is get, let's say, 10 jobs a month. And if in the past they've proven that they can get 12, 15 jobs, well, there's no more fear. Now there's data, right? So that fear is gone.
That's really good. That's really, wow. You are good. You're a good coach.
Thank you. Yeah.
Tell me something. Yeah, I know you. We have been like maintaining, like nurturing our relationship through network meetings, and it's just really really good to be part of to have you part of this, and I just wondering how does this so confident Eric, how is what's the story behind this so confident and powerful Eric, that now can help so many people? Maybe we can, like identify some patterns or things that we can actually do even for our kids, help them to be that, that level of so productive, so upbeat, so powerful. Where did this start? When did it start?
That's a tough question. Let me try to answer that. I don't know if I can. It's a good question though. I don't think I've been asked that. I think a lot of my inspiration comes from my mom and probably my dad. He passed away when I was 5, so I don't relate too much. But from the stories that I heard, he is a very much driven and very on task and very successful entrepreneur. Both my mom and dad were. But I learned and saw a lot from my mom in my early days. We came as refugee family, and it was tough. It was tough upbringing. 2 years into the country, my dad passed away. So here's my mom raising 4 kids, not knowing the language, new refugee in the country, and she really had to make a go at it. But she was very good. She was persistent. She was resourceful, right? If she wanted something, she sought out the answer no matter what happens. She worked 2 restaurant jobs, day and night. She would leave at 10 in the morning. She won't come back till like 1 in the morning, like after midnight, because she would have to close off. So I saw a lot of that. The work ethic is super important. And for any entrepreneur, if you ask them, that's important. I saw that in her. I saw resourcefulness. So for me, I can actualize any goal. If you give me enough time, I can actualize any goal because I know how to find it. I may not know right away, but I know eventually I'll find it. That's resourcefulness. So I got that from her. Persistence and determination, right? If you give me a goal, I'm like a dog on a bone. I will make it happen. So I think I got a lot of that from her. I would say, what is the secret to being so driven? I don't know. I don't want to say that I'm born with it because I also believe it's very much nature. There's some of it that's nurture. Some personalities are born like that. But I personally believe that if there's a strong enough will to make something happen, you could make it happen. So even if you're not born driven, the nature, if you set up your surroundings right, you can be driven. So for me, from that perspective, what you need to do, like what I find what I do is I am very focused with my future vision. So when you work with me, you'll know I'm always talking about what's your end goal. start with the end goal in mind and then come back from it. So where's the end vision for you, for your business, for your life? At the end of your life, what do you want people to say about you, right? While they're standing during your celebration of life. So work with that in mind and then come back. So for me, if I want something, I want to be connected with that purpose. If I know why I'm doing something, I will go for it. So that's my tip to entrepreneurs out there is don't just go through life, don't build your business not knowing, not sure. Be connected with why you are building that business. The more connected you are, the more driven you will be. And with business, it's a roller coaster. It goes up and down. And in the dip of that roller coaster, where it's just like, pandemic hit and you're not making money and all that stuff, it's that drive and that connectedness to your passion, to the purpose in your life that gets you through the low hump and gets you back up to the next high.
Wow, that's good stuff, Eric. Super impressed. And tell me something. What if people don't know what they want? I actually just met a client this morning, and sometimes people are not sure. They know kind of what they like to do. They might be in the 9 to 5, like kind of job. They are struggling with just like not going anywhere, and they are afraid. Sometimes they have families, they have to provide. And how do you do that, this work? Actually, first question. And if you do, how do you tackle that? Because most of the listeners, the solopreneurs, sometimes they are not even a solopreneur. They are just, like working 9 to 5, and they want to launch something. They want to unleash, but they don't even know what they want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I do a workshop on vision, mission, and purpose. So that helps somewhat, and I can definitely do coaching on that. I've done a lot of work helping people find their purpose and find their mission. I don't know if people are born with that strong sense of purpose. I think some people are and some people aren't. So it's nothing anything out of the ordinary if you just don't know where you're going. I think it is a discovery process, right? For some people, it happens very early. For me, it was very early. I knew what I want. And for some others, it happens very late, right? Maybe there's some life circumstance that comes up and it really strikes them in the head and they're like, wow, okay, I need to get up with my life or do this. Or they discover something and say, wow, that's a calling for me. So I think that digs more into the inner soul, right? It's more spiritual for sure. You have to have that calling. And you can definitely discover that calling, but it's a process. It's not something that someone can just tell you, you should go this. You have to have that connectedness with it. So it's a process, and I can definitely help with that.
That's good. When you're working with a client, and it's probably you like to work with creatives, and I am a creative myself. Do you have? They are probably, like juggling different projects. As a creative myself, I have so many different projects, and yes. I know you have to focus on something to get things done, but the problem sometimes with creatives that they can't stop like the creative process. It's not like it's built in. So we are doing multiple things, and you probably have to pick something to work with you. A topic or a business or a goal. But can you recommend something for creatives out there that are, like for the whole life, they have been doing like different things at the same time? How can we actually, make this, like, I don't know, like just a better, let's say, production, more.
Right. So let me try to understand the essence of your question. Is the essence of your question how can creatives help to be more focused? Or is it creatives have a lot on the go and how do they pick one thing?
I think like as a creative, people sometimes talk about focus, and I don't really understand how can I, for example, as a musician, put an idea, pause an idea for inspiration, right? There's no way to pause an inspiration. You can for sure work like as a writer, of course. every day you need to write, you write, and then you write, and then you master that skill. But sometimes you just like have an inspiration, you need to work on that, otherwise it just vanish, it goes away, and you don't, even if you come back to that idea, it's not the same thing, right? So it's a different environment, I would say, for some creatives that are trying to get the most out of their creativity, and the inspiration comes with no warn. It just like comes,
Right.
and it's hard sometimes because you feel guilty that you are not working on that project that you should be working on, but you are actually working on your new idea, and you might not be finishing that idea, but you are actually registering, or at least like, I don't know, somehow you are recording that, or just stored,
Right.
this idea.
Okay. Well, okay. So I could relate because I'm a creative. I'm a designer. I'm an architect, and I'm an entrepreneur. And the interesting thing is, when these moments of inspiration come, you really want to harness it. So I agree with you. Uh, but there's nothing saying that you can't harness it. You can totally spend time and harness it, unless you've got like multiple deadlines that you're juggling. Then you have to pick you have to pick and push something aside. But I remember, for me, I'm an entrepreneur, so I walk around and I think about business ideas. And for me, entrepreneurship is creation. You're creating a company out of an idea, right? So for me, I had this. I remember this. It's a motorcycle, high-end motorcycle storage idea, because I'm a motorcyclist. So the problem that we have is, some motorcyclists, they have a lot of motorcycles and they don't have enough space to store it. So what if I provided a solution for that, where there's secure storage, heated, and they can work on the motorcycle there. So it solves the problem of downtown people that don't have a garage, that want multiple motorcycles and a secure place to store it. So I thought, wow, what a great idea. Okay. And I really wanted to dive into it. So I dove into it. I did some analysis. I did a quick business plan. I did a financial model, all that stuff. And that was enough to harness the inspiration for the time. So the trick is, harness enough of it so that you capture the idea on paper and then come back to it. Life is still calling. You still have your kids calling you, your wife, if you're married, your job. Those stuff still need to come, but you can harness enough of the key idea and then come back to it. And what you'll find is, with ideas, when you come back to it, you'll get a new iteration, right? That's how the subconscious works, right? You go take a shower, you go for a walk, and okay, I'm still noodling on that, but now there's a new iteration. So I think it's the same with creation. Like when I think of a space and when I'm designing a project, same thing. Like, okay, I'm really into the groove. I'm designing it. I'm feeling this. I've got this vision in my mind, and I want to download it from my mind onto paper. And I do. But the key is, if you're juggling a lot of stuff, you download just enough to remind you when you go back to, okay, this is what I was thinking. And then you continue later on. So put out some time to download enough of that, but then come back if you don't have time. Now, if you have time, of course, go ahead and splurge. I know us creatives, we love to just dive into that. And we can be drawing, sketching, creating for hours.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, if you've got the time, do it. If you don't, get the essence of it and then come back. And I can bet you that that second version will be even better. That's just how it works.
That's amazing. Wow, that's great, Eric. Great, great, great. Well, any final thoughts on this, or you want to share? Of course, I want to learn. I want to know how can people can find you online and your programs that you currently have. So, if you have any final thoughts, and where can we find you?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll give you my final thought on fear, since that's the topic, and I'll just kind of tell people where to find me. Winston Churchill had a really good quote. Fear is a reaction. Courage is a decision. And I think that's the key between taking action even when you're feeling fear, right? So my tip about getting data, yes, that's great. But sometimes fear is very emotional. It overtakes your body. And you're like, I can't move because there's fears here. So although I'm telling you this very logical thing about, okay, go and get the data, you're not in a logical space. So that doesn't help you. But think of it this way. Fear is very much a reaction. Okay, you look at all the pandemic and all the stuff happening in the world, and even George Floyd and the racism, all of that stuff. a lot of what's happening in the world is because it's a reaction, right? We are just reacting to the body feeling that we have right now. But the wiser person doesn't react on it. The wiser person recognizes that there's fear, decides, okay, thinks about, okay, what should I do next? Okay, I feel the fear, but I'm still going to do it. That's courage. And that's the difference, right? Courage is bravery. It's moving forward, even though you know that there's risk in that fear, but you made a choice to move forward. And that makes the bigger person. So I'll leave you and your audience with that.
Wow.
And where to find me?
Yes.
Eric, starfishcoaching.net, and on YouTube, Eric Lee, Starfish Coaching, or search for that and you'll find me.
That's a blast. Such a blast. Thank you so much, Eric. Valuable stuff, really good stuff. I hope we can help, can keep helping those creatives that we need more and more creatives in this world, that's for sure. And I really, really enjoyed. I mean, like, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. I know you're super busy, and I'll see you around. That's for sure.
No problem. Thank you, Rod. And I do thank you for having me on, and I super appreciate you putting on your podcast. I think it's one of those things that are so much needed. My mission with Starfish Coaching is to enable and empower creatives to be successful, and that's what your podcast is doing. So I appreciate you, and thank you for putting that out there.
Thank you so much. So that's it for this week. Thank you so much, Eric, again, and I see you around for sure.
All right. Thank you. I hope you liked that interview, and I hope it's giving you some tips on how to overcome your fears. If you've got some strategies yourself for overcoming fear, please leave it down in the comments below so that our audience can benefit from it. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't for more business tips, and follow me on the Founder Series interview where I bring on successful people to share their knowledge and everyone can benefit.